Hey y'all, this is Dionne, and this is everything you need to know when traveling to the Amalfi Coast in Italy.
I don't want to drop my phone. Look at how cool that is.
The Amalfi Coast in Italy is known to be one of the most beautiful places on the earth. They have these beautiful towns that are stuck against the cliff. I mean, you take the bus rides, they go right along the cliff. It's really, really beautiful. So this is the thing that draws people to the Amalfi Coast. People go for the views. They also go for the beaches. We went in April. It was too cold to do any beaches or to get in the water, but it was still beautiful to see. The only time we took buses in Italy was on the Amalfi Coast and Positano. That was sketch. The reason it was sketch was because when you go on the Amalfi Coast, you're right up against the ocean on these huge cliffs, and the roads are super, super narrow. I swear about 75% of the cars and the vehicles we saw there had scrape marks against it. That is because every road is so narrow. It was just, everybody was just scraping each other when you pass each other. The problem with the buses on the Amalfi Coast is that there's nothing electronic. You don't know the stops, and most of the time the drivers will not announce the stops. So when we were driving into Positano, there was a stop, and there were about 8 college American boys on our bus. One of them went up to ask the bus driver about the stop, and he said, yes, this is the stop. So one of the American boys got off. Well, the bus driver just closed the door and drove off, and the other 7 boys were left on board, and while their friend was left behind. It was really, really sad. And then an Italian lady commented in English, well, this is how the buses just work in Italy. And no, it's really not. It was really sad that he did that, and then the kid had to find a place to go. But because of that, me and my daughter decided to just get off at the next stop because we didn't know where our stop was. And then we ended up having to take a taxi to get to our hotel because we were just completely lost. But we didn't want to end up in the next town and end up having to pay like 100 euros just to get to where we needed to go. It was really just frustrating. Now I'm going to tell you that the Amalfi Coast is known for its beauty, and we were there in April and it was even cloudy, and it was absolutely gorgeous. I'm not going to downplay that. The problem with getting to Amalfi and Positano and Sorrento is the transportation. So you're going to see online that there's all these private transports. That is because you have to take buses. And like I said, the buses can be hard to figure out. They can be unreliable. Our bus driver dumped that poor American kid off and took off. I think that was a one-off, but I can't be for sure. That was our experience. So I'm going to say traveling to the Amalfi Coast, if you want to do a private transport, fine, but you're going to pay a lot of money to do it that way. So the other thing I'm going to say that makes traveling the Amalfi Coast annoying is the ferry system. One of the top destinations on the Amalfi Coast is to go see the island of Capri. The island of Capri has beautiful views. It also has the Blue Grotto, which is a little cave that has an insanely beautiful blue area to go and see. When we went to the Amalfi Coast, our intentions was to go see the island of Capri. However, upon doing research, we learned that getting there is even more of a pain than getting around the Amalfi Coast. So we even considered staying on the island of Capri. The problem was the ferry system. And when we got there, the ferry to Capri was canceled that day. So even if we had booked our tickets and stuff and paid ahead of time, which thank God we did not, we wouldn't have been able to go. So I'm just going to forewarn you, it is beautiful and the pictures look great, but I'm going to tell you that if you go online and read all the reviews, the ferry system is just not the best, so just be warned. One of our fears was that we would go to the island of Capri and get stuck there because of the ferries were canceled or they just didn't have ferries or what have you. So we just decided to nix the whole thing because the last thing we wanted to do was to get there and be stuck there, and then, we paid for a hotel room on the coast, and then we'd have to, pay for another hotel room, hopefully if they had one on the island of Capri. So we were going to take a ferry from Positano to Amalfi, which was supposedly only 20 minutes. And instead we had to take the bus, which was just annoying because then everybody's taking the bus. So that is another reason that makes getting to the Amalfi Coast and around difficult is the ferry system. And if you read the reviews online, everybody talks about sometimes the ferries don't show up and then they are canceled frequently due to weather. You just need to be prepared that you might have to change your plans based off of the ferry schedule as well. Just be aware that when you are on the Amalfi Coast, you will be taking public transportation, which is, nice enough. The buses are nice. I mean, you're just getting on it and going to the next town, but you have to be prepared for that and plan for that. You pick up the bus tickets at the tobacco stores, basically they're convenience stores, which is usually right next to a bus stop. I mean, they were €2.30 when we were there. So very, very affordable to get around. During the week, they run pretty regularly. However, on the weekends, they do not. When we went to the Amalfi Coast, we saw 3 towns. We went to Positano, that is where we stayed. We also went to the town of Amalfi, and then we went to Ravello, and then we went back. That is all that we did. In the town of Amalfi, it's pretty much very, very tourist. They have a great cathedral that you have to pay money to go in, but it is beautiful. The Amalfi Coast is known for its lemon trees. They are everywhere. They're beautiful. They grow stuff. And of course, what they make from their lemon trees. And one of them is this lemon sorbet. You have to try it. We bought this one here in Amalfi. It was €10, totally worth it. And we shared it. It's pretty big. When we went, we stayed in this cutesy hotel in Positano. Highly recommend it. The hotel was downtown. Just to be aware, you have to take buses and then walk to get there. The town is also very hilly, so if you have baggage and luggage, be aware of that. When we stayed in Positano, down the street, they had this cafe nearby. It had the best pizza. We got the pizza and you could take it away, so we basically ate it at our hotel room. But it was so, so good. I have to say the pizza in Italy is definitely much better than here. When we went to the Amalfi Coast, we went to Amalfi and then we took the bus up to Ravello. And Ravello is this great little villa. It's called Villa Rufolo. It's really, really pretty. It's also where you get these iconic photos that you're going to see here that I'll post. It's just got really, really great views. You can also hike up. They have a bell tower that was interesting and fun too. And you get great views. So Ravello is a town that's up the hill from Amalfi. Pretty much you have to take a bus. It's like 20 minutes. It goes up this mountain road. We went from Positano to Amalfi up to Ravello, and then when we got to Ravello, we missed the bus. So what we decided to do is we're just gonna hike down back to Amalfi. And how long could it take? I mean, it can't take that long. So we started hiking down the road. It did take long, and then we got on these trails that are famous too that we weren't intending to take, but you can actually take these trails that go along the coast that are famous for their scenery as well. We ended up taking one of these hiking trails. I mean, it was pretty, but we hadn't intended to hike, and it took us closer to 2 hours versus the 1 hour I was thinking it would take. But it was an unplanned part of our trip that at the time was traumatic, but turned out to be worth it. Just be aware that these towns are remote. They are built on cliff sides. So what you're going to see when you get there is tourists. There's the people who live there, work in the tourist industry. So you're mainly going to be seeing tourists. So when you're walking up and down the streets in Positano, say for example, you're gonna hear tourists everywhere. The other thing you need to know when traveling to the Amalfi Coast is that this place is not very handicapped friendly in terms of the streets are narrow. Most of it is up and down the hills because it's built on the side of a cliff. So you will be walking up and down a lot. There are a ton of stairs with no handicapped ramps next to it. So just be aware if you have a walker, a cane, or need a wheelchair, you basically should plan way far in advance in terms of how that you are going to get around these towns. I would definitely not recommend renting a car when you go to the Amalfi Coast unless you are really, really good driver. As I mentioned before, there were scrapes on the sides of almost 75% of the cars that we saw, and these are cars driven by the locals who know how to drive these roads. So the odds of you getting a scrape on your car, or even worse, into an accident, driving these towns are pretty high, I would say. So I would caution against getting a car and using the public transportation system. Looking back, traveling to Positano was worth it, but it was probably one of the more stressful legs of our trip just because of the transportation. You would think because it is so popular that Italy would put some effort into making it easier to get there, but it is not easy to get to. You usually have to take a bus from Sorrento, and then that's when it gets sketch, or a private transport, and it's super, super expensive. We took one taxi to our hotel. It was a 10-minute taxi ride. We were in the town of Positano to our hotel. They charged us 30 euros. That was just for like a simple trip. If you want to do a private taxi from like Sorrento to Positano, they charge like 180 euros. I mean, it's outrageous. It would be great if Italy would allow other competing companies like Uber in, so there would be competition and it would be more affordable, easier, less headache, less hassle to get to the area. If you like this video, please subscribe to my YouTube channel for more great content on all of my travel adventures. Thanks, bye.